Procrastination is always a form of delay, but not all delays are a form of procrastination. So this week, I thought I would tap into 3 ways that I see people delay and then see if you can align yourself or any of these resonate with you. And depending on what stage you are in your life, you might find yourself moving closer to one than the other. Now, procrastination is not always a bad thing, but the reason I started this podcast is because I see so many incredible humans delaying their dreams for the wrong reasons. So let's look at the word procrastinate. We say it a lot, we might use it on ourselves a lot, but what does it actually mean? It comes from the Latin roots of pro, meaning forward, and crastinate, meaning tomorrow. So it's a delaying of what we need to do. Now, procrastination is nothing new. It's been around for thousands of years. In fact, over 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius warned us against needless delays. And you will see many, many references to procrastination that go back thousands of years. But why I wanted to start this podcast is I see so many incredible humans in this moment delaying the actions simply because of how they think about themselves. So they have a lack of consistency, clarity, courage, or confidence. So today I wanted to talk about 3 ways that I see people showing up. And I'm going to use myself as an example because, again, the world always gives you the teachings that you need. I say you learn it to teach it, you live it to preach it. And let me tell you, I was living it this week. So let's look at procrastination first. And there are so many different types of delays. I'm actually going to talk about the different types of delays in a different show. We can have life delays where things just get in the way, right? You have all the right intentions. You're going to show up and do the thing and start creating actions that move you closer to your ambition. And then your kids get sick, or a friend needs help, or you get ill. Those are delays that happen, and it's a part of life. You're not delaying on purpose. But the delay I'm talking about is when the only thing getting in our way is not life, but it's ourself. It's our thoughts. It's the idea of waiting for it to be perfect or waiting to know everything to get started. And we all know that if we wait for the perfect time never happens. So I want you to consider, is there something you are delaying? What are you procrastinating on that really the only thing getting in your way is how you're thinking about yourself or how you're thinking that you need to show up? And what is one small shift that you can make in the way that you look at yourself and the world that would allow you, that would give yourself permission, the freedom to take one small step forward toward your ambition? Procrastination is a problem when it is keeping us from our dreams, when it is delaying us from taking action from the things that bring us meaning and purpose, from the things that bring us excitement into our life. Is there something that you are procrastinating on right now that is holding you back? And if you look even deeper, the only thing that is holding you back is a thought. I say only, that's very simplistic, but that's a good place for us to start. Then what I see a lot of people doing is procrastinating. I raise my hand here if you're not watching on YouTube. And I'm actually going to use YouTube as a great example right now. So for many years, I was a procrastinator, especially when I was writing my first book. I would be out there looking at what all the other authors are doing, how they're doing their book launches, how are they. And a piece of that was learning, absolutely, but a lot of that was procrastination. Because what happened is I then moved into the comparison trap, comparing my beginning to someone else's middle, someone who's been doing that. I've been an author for 7 years and I was just getting started. Or comparing myself right now onto people on YouTube who have been on YouTube for years and I'm really just getting started. Although I did have an ambition of doing that when I went to my travels in Europe, but I procrastinated on it because I didn't learn how to use my camera and for many, many reasons. But anyway, I digress. But for those of you watching on YouTube, you're going to see my journey of stopping being a procrastinator and starting to put the learnings into action. So do you find yourself looking, scrolling on the internet at what other people are doing? If you have a dream and ambition that other people are already doing in their own unique way, and it doesn't matter if it's been done before, because also what tends to happen is we start looking at other people and go, it's already been done. Why bother? It's just an out because it's not been done in your way. It's not been done with your voice. It's not been done with your unique perspective on whatever it is that you're creating. No one is you. But the one thing that often is getting in the way is you. So when we start learning and looking and searching for the perfect way to do something, and then we start comparing our beginning to people who've been doing this very beautifully for a long time, we'll often find ourselves ruminating. Comparison is a thief of joy, and it also is an instigator to delay. Now, on the flip side of that, we need to learn. There is nothing wrong on searching and asking for help. And YouTube is amazing right now. ChatGPT is an amazing tool. But if we're using that too much and using learning as an excuse not to ship our own work, that's a procrastinator. Is it time for you to stop learning, to stop looking? And is it time for you to possibly be the teacher? You do not need to know everything. You've probably heard this from a million thought leaders. You just need to be a little few steps ahead of the people you want to help. So with that in mind, I've been studying procrastination for as long as I've been studying perfectionism. And the one thing that you will see me learn in the process as I build all of my work this year around ambition and procrastination is you can pop over to YouTube anytime and you'll see the evolvement. Is that a word? You will see me evolve, hopefully for the better, as I learn ways to create better videos. So I'm going to give you an example right now about moving from being a procrastinator into taking action. So the other day I was searching, as one does, for how to create great video for podcasts. And if I compare myself to people like Andrew Huberman, Rich Roll, the people I really admire, The Diary of a CEO, let's be honest, I would be paralyzed. I would stop because there's no way I can compete with that. I don't have the budget. I don't have the flexibility. Bottom line is I don't have the money. I'm guessing what it costs to produce one of those shows is what I would need to live on for like the next 3 months. And if I had to decide on, do I put out the most amazing show or do I have a roof over my head? I'm going to have a roof over my head because great ideas never happen under stress. But I'm inspired by those shows. And maybe 3 years from now, I'll have a show like that. Who knows? But I know I can do the best work that I can given my circumstance. So for now, I'm recording this podcast with a great mic that I like and filming this on Zoom. In the past, I just recorded audio. So now I'm recording audio and video. I know Zoom is not the most great way. There's a million different ways for me to record. And I had actually signed up for another recording system that I was hoping to use this week, but I'm not ready. So instead of going, oh, I'm not going to do a show because I'm not ready, I'm like, okay, I'll get to that next week or the week after. But I'm still learning, but I'm learning in action, right? I'm trying out things in action. And you'll see the progression of how my learning is put into action every time you come onto YouTube. So with that being said, I Googled the best way to create video on a YouTube, for a podcast. And I've got this amazing show came up. I don't know this person. I subscribe to him. I'm actually going to put the link to the video. If you're interested on up-leveling your Zoom, even for meetings these days or whatever you're doing, this is such a great show. I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but I'll put the link in the show notes. And if you want to up-level your Zoom, I highly recommend getting on your Zoom, having this on your computer, and step by step, you will be walked through how to up-level your video. So one of the first tips this gentleman said is, number one, if you're on Zoom, you cannot be using the filter. There's like a little filter in the background. If you go and look for it, don't look for it because you're not meant to be using it. That maybe blurs you out just a little. So if you actually just go back to last week's show, you will see I'm a little fuzzy. It might look like someone's put Vaseline on the screen or that I had the lighting of Barbara Walters. And a dear friend of mine actually said, you do look a little blown out. Well, he said, it looks like you went and had a photo taken at one of those mall, those photo shops in the mall. And I went back and looked, I'm like, yeah, I'm a little blown out. And to be honest, the reason I did that, I'm getting older. I don't have all the fancy lighting, but I do have a perfectly decent window right in front of me. I'm working on the lighting. I'll get there. And I just got to get over myself. That I'm 60. There's going to be wrinkles in places I don't want them. And I'd rather show up with the lessons and applying the lessons than ignoring the lessons and just showing like a blurry mess for the next year or so. So that was number one. And I felt a little bit ashamed when he said this. And then I just laughed. I'm like, he is so right. It is. It's like when you go to those malls, right? And they blur you out. So you just look like you're in heaven or something. You got this ray of light around you. And so I ticked that off. And then he said, okay, you should not be using a webcam. Okay, so I digress. So right before I went to Europe, this is now almost 3 years ago. Let's say 2, it sounds better. I bought a camera. For those of you watching on Zoom right now, here's the proof. I bought an incredible camera worth over $1,000. And not only that, I bought a lens, $1,000 lens. Have I ever used these? No, but I will. So anyway, I digress. Now, this next bit is more if you're recording, but he did encourage us not to use a webcam. But that's all I have right now, because I have a friend that's actually going to teach me how to set up my camera. I'm going to have to adjust my desk a little bit, move it back, get my camera up on a tripod. But I have the equipment. I just don't know how to use it yet. So I'm learning about audio. I'm learning about video. I'm learning about lighting. But I'm not waiting till I have it all perfectly dialed in before I get started. So I'm learning in action. A procrastinating learner is when you're learning, but it's actually paralyzing you because you're comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing. And so notice, is that something that you tend to do? Now, there's a difference between learning in action and there's a difference between procrastinating learning. Then the last one is, are you a percolator? A friend of mine the other day said, I think I'm procrastinating. I'm like, no, actually, you're not. You're percolating. Ideas take time to form. We need to use the lens of curiosity and read and explore and find our own unique voice. And many times when we think we're procrastinating, we're actually not. We're formulating these ideas in our mind. We're writing them down. We're brainstorming. And in actuality, you're moving forward. You're moving your ideas forward. I actually use Trello right now to take notes because I have all these ideas and I used to put them in a million notebooks and then I couldn't find them. But percolating is different. You're actually thinking about what it is you want to do in the world. And percolation at some point needs a gestation point. It needs a time to come out into the world. And here's the thing, great ideas die in isolation. They thrive in collaboration. So there's going to come a time when you stop percolating and you start putting action so you can try these and test these ideas out in the world. Because we can have a great idea, but the only way we're going to know if our idea is actually being received is to put it out into the world. And the only way your idea is going to get more and more fine-tuned and closer to perfect, if you are a recovering perfectionist, is to get it out there and get feedback. And then be able to separate the feedback from who we are. This work, being an ambitious procrastinator, is also learning to separate what you do from who you are. So when you get feedback, instead of stopping you in your tracks and going, oh my gosh, they thought I was terrible, they thought my idea was terrible, we can parse out the suggestions we get back, people's humble opinions of what we're doing. And then based on our own heart and our own integrity and how we want to show up in the world, we can take the feedback that is useful. We can discard the feedback that is not that helpful without feeling that it was a personal assault. And then we can move closer to our ambitious goals, our dreams, the work that we want to do without being paralyzed and moving into procrastination anytime it doesn't go perfectly. So this week, I invite you to think about, are you procrastinating somewhere this week in a way that the only thing in your way is you? Can you do one small mindset shift that will allow you to take one small action? Just one small action closer toward the dream, the goals, the intentions you are setting for yourself. Then are you a procrastinating learner? Is it time for you now to stop learning and start doing? Or maybe you do need to do a little bit more research to get a little bit closer to fine-tuning the message that you want to say. There's nothing wrong in delaying a little bit if you know you can do something better. But as the last sentence of my book said, the world would rather have your imperfect voice than your perfect silence. So make sure you're not waiting for perfect to get your ideas out into the world. And then lastly, are you percolating? Maybe you're in a new stage. You're creating something new. I'm creating something new this year. There's so much I'm percolating in my mind. And yet I know there are some things I'm ready to ship on, this podcast being one of them. But there are other things I'm still percolating on. There are still some learning to be done. There's still some things I don't know how to do yet before I start shipping that out into the world. So as you step into the weekend and next week, really just pay attention through the lens of curiosity. No judgment zone here. If you find yourself procrastinating when really the only thing getting in your way are your thoughts, simply use this lens of, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why I'm delaying. And then maybe it's fear. Maybe it's a lack of self-confidence. And then once we are aware of what's getting in our way, we can start to take inspired action to bring our voices and your voice and your message out into the world.